It's Halloween today, so here's a bite-sized episode to get you in the mood. This is the Fearful Tower, and I'm your ghost, Oliver G.
Fearful Tower with Oliver G.
So guys, it wouldn't be Halloween without our first annual Halloween spooktacular story. So I'm going to bring you one. This is an old story. You maybe heard it before if you're a regular listener. But before we get into that, I want to give you a little bit of Earful Tower news, which is partly the reason why I'm doing this episode today. I am going to be hosting an event on November 15th, and I want you guys, regular listeners, to have first chance to get these tickets. So, what's the event? We got John Baxter, the author, coming in for a book signing. He's got a new book about Paris coming out. We're going to do a live episode. It's also going to be a mingle. There's going to be loads of interesting people there. There'll be drinks, there'll be food, there'll be prizes. And buying a ticket is going to support the show, so I'll be glad if you do. Now, the event isn't Halloween themed, but this invitation is, so here's a sentence full of Halloween puns for you guys. This event is going to be at one of my favorite haunts. The interior design is going to be from my ghoul friend, and tickets are going to be scarce. So send me an email to reserve one via theearfultower.com. But for now, here comes a spooky story from the Paris Whisperer, the ultimate storyteller, Corey Frye. Corey Frye, if you want to search for him, Corey Frye. But here he comes.
I thought we'd go back to the 17th century where there was a time in Paris where being a flaneur could get you killed.
You've got a sense of the dark side of Paris. How can you get killed for being a flaneur?
How are we going to find out
about
about
these
these
things? You could not only get
things
killed,
otherwise?
you could get murdered, flat out murdered for being a flaneur. In the 1680s. Let me describe. Because there was a serial killer. You know Jack the Ripper, of course, up in London. Well, Paris has its own serial killer.
Jacques le Ripper.
Exactly, yeah. So what happened was, it's 1684, and young gentlemen who were walking at night, noblemen and whatnot, and wealthy folks, they would be strolling the parks of Luxembourg and the Tuileries Gardens, and all of a sudden they started to go missing.
Were the parks open at night in those days?
They were, yeah. And it was a popular promenade for the wealthy. And so they're roaming around, these guys alone in the middle of the night, and they started to get picked off one by one. They vanished. And a dozen went missing, 2 dozen went missing, and all of a sudden 26 young noblemen had vanished from the streets of Paris in the middle of the night.
James, you look really worried.
So don't worry about it.
1684, man.
This is why they've closed the parks off now at night.
Maybe.
So what happened was Louis XIV at the time tells the police lieutenant, the chief here in Paris, you got to do something. You got to find this serial killer. So what he does, the chief, he finds a guy who has a son. One of the policemen has a son. And they take the son, who's about the same age as the victims. They dress him up as a nobleman, stuff his pockets full of money, put some fancy jewelry on his fingers, and they push him out onto the streets at night, and they say, roam around.
A fake nobleman. A fobleman.
A fobleman, and he's the bait. So he walks around night after night, nothing happens. But on the 5th night, he's walking through the Tuileries Gardens, and he comes across this beautiful princess. Beautiful woman. He's never seen anything like her. And she claims that she's a princess from Eastern Europe. Polish, I believe.
But was she?
So she says to him, come meet me tonight in my apartment.
In
and
French.
He's thinking, wow, exactly.
Like a Bond villain. Like the girls, the Russian.
Right.
Yeah.
They kill you with their beauty.
Yeah. Or they strangle you with their thighs. I watched one recently.
Let's not bring your own personal fetishes into this place, but
So we're in the Tuileries.
in the Tuileries. And she says, come meet me later on this evening. So he does. He meets her late at night behind the Louvre, and she takes him to, now pay attention to the name of the street because you can still go here to where the event would take place. It's called Rue Courtalon, and it's number 2 Rue Courtalon.
Courtalon. In the second arrondissement. First.
I believe it's in the
Yes.
first. And so listen, he goes up into her apartment, everything seems fine, but he tells his dad, the policeman, you should be waiting just in case, right?
Yeah.
So they're waiting, lurking in the
Flicks
shadows.
him a quick SMS.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes in, and she's being all nice to him, and he's seducing him, and he's like, I can't believe my luck.
Hang on, do we assume that he's in on it, or is he thinking that he's just met a princess and he's okay?
Well, he's not sure.
Okay.
I mean, the police are there, so they know that this might be a sting operation, but they got to catch her red-handed. So she goes out and leaves the room for some drinks. He's frantically looking around, looking for evidence of these 26 victims. He looks behind a partition, right, and he finds a big armoire, opens up the armoire, and he finds 26 severed, embalmed heads of all the previous victims on silver dishes laid out.
What?
So he screams out. His dad and the rest of the police bust in through the window, and they capture not only the princess, who's the killer, but her 4 big burly henchmen who were doing the killing.
The head collectors.
Yeah,
Why,
exactly.
why were they collecting
Well,
heads?
this is what happened. They ended up sentencing them all to death, and the 4 henchmen were killed, and she was thrown in the Bastille. What happened was she was seducing these guys, having their heads chopped off. And she wasn't sadistic or freaky, although I guess she was. But she was selling those heads on the black market.
Oh,
because back when you were...
Who would want to...
Well, that to the...
hang on, you know what? She hadn't sold many because 26 were in the arm
They
market.
were still there, yeah.
The
Maybe she was waiting for the value to rise.
It was the Germans, actually, on the German black market. If you were a doctor or a medical student, it was very hard to get a hold of cadavers to study, to practice on.
Let alone noble cadavers.
Oh, yeah, man, that's a whole other
Still,
echelon.
it's still hard to get them.
I know you try.
On
I
the
know you
dark
try your
web.
best.
You know where to go.
So to wrap up the story, she was selling those heads to these doctors so that they could study them. Now, her name was Lady Guilford, apparently. She was not a Polish princess. Turns out she was part of an English family, very well-to-do English family. So she is in the Bastille, manages to escape, and no one heard from her after.
She got away with 26
So
crimes.
that she goes down. You know, we have Jack the Ripper. You call her Jill the Ripper, perhaps,
Yeah.
in Paris?
And what was the name of the street? What's the relevance?
Well, that was where she took him. The Rue Courtalon.
Oh, I thought it was going to come back in the story.
The Rue Courtalon is number 2 of the Rue Courtalon is where she took him upstairs.
Where can we find this street?
You can find that street in the first arrondissement.
Sounds like the first. Sounds like the kind of thing that would go on in the first arrondissement.
It's in the Les Halles area. So you can go there and look up on the second floor in American. I guess in France it's the first floor.
Yes.
Up in the windows there, and that's where it all took place.
Wow, that's another great story from Corey. I like that
Are you gonna
one.
check that one out, Ollie?
I'm definitely going to check it out. Post
Yeah?
a picture
At
as
night?
usual.
At
yeah.
night?
Not at night.
I might go for a walk in the Tuileries and see if someone's still around.
I'm going to be in the bushes with a Polish accent.
Hold on, I would love to dress up James in a nobleman costume, and we'll do the whole.
Maybe we can do that on
Maybe
the
we
next
can catch the
episode.
killer.
Well, there's the story. We never dressed up for the next week's episode. Maybe we'll do it tonight on Halloween. Enjoy your Halloween. And if you want those tickets to that live show, send me an email now before I put it out on Facebook and tell everybody else. Thanks for listening.
Earful Tower with Oliver G.